Fasting has an endless list of benefits, especially when it comes to anti-aging and possible longevity benefits. Not only do all of these benefits mean you might live longer, but perhaps more importantly, you will be healthier and have more opportunity to fulfill your personal dreams.
Well, sir, you've certainly vanquished all your enemies, the elementary school, the local tavern, the old age home. You must be very proud.
No, not while my greatest nemesis still provides our customers with free light, heat, and energy. I call this enemy the sun.
First off, why fast at all? For the elderly, the main benefit may be attempting to live longer and age more gracefully. There's many supplements and other interventions you can take that will supposedly increase your longevity and will certainly have positive effects on your health. Fasting can provide the same benefits of each one and is free. But of course the supplements could also provide extra benefits on top of this, especially since many benefits of fasting only come into play on 72-hour fasts and greater, which not everyone is willing to do. They also require a lot less effort. For example, NMN is famed for promoting NAD+ in cells, which is required for the sirtuin DNA repair genes, which are needed to fight off the effects of aging. Fasting not only increases NAD+ in cells, but also improves the NAD+ NADH ratio. On top of all this, it actually activates those repair mechanisms. And that's something that supplements alone cannot do. Alpha-ketoglutarate protects stem cells from becoming senescent, which makes them useless over time. While it is a good idea to take alpha-ketoglutarate for this purpose, not only does fasting protect stem cells, but it can actually increase their stemness and their telomere length. That is, it actually makes them more functional, and this is one of the best hopes for actually increasing human longevity. And if you could somehow keep your stem cells eternally youthful, then you'd essentially be immortal. Alpha-ketoglutarate also increases lifespan in mice by about 20% when they start in their equivalent of middle age. It also makes them appear and act young for much longer than the unsupplemented mice. However, fasting has an even greater effect on longevity in animal experiments and stimulates a variety of pathways that should also keep you looking and feeling healthy as well. Fasting can also regenerate your thymus due to growth hormone release, and this is very important for fighting off illness, cancer, and even autoimmune diseases. Fasting also increases ketones, and it does so to a much greater degree than a keto diet alone possibly could. You can get them 5 or even 10 times higher. Ketones are the fuel that our brain is meant to use, and it is the cleanest fuel possible for the brain. And this is really the only purpose that the ketone serves in the body. The rest of your body can burn fat, but the brain can't burn just any old fat because it can't pass through the blood-brain barrier. All ketones contain fat that produces non-deuterized water. You can pay hundreds a day for 0 deuterium water, which is very good for your mitochondria and is promoted as a cancer preventative and fighter, or you can just get it for free from fasting and get it to the most important location in the body, your brain. This also rescues your neurons from damage and allows them to regenerate mitochondria in the body. This prevents neuron loss, which is the ultimate driver of dementia. Fasting has many beneficial mechanisms for mitochondria, and while CoQ10 and PQQ are supplements that can be very helpful for the elderly, they do cost money and you can only get so much benefit out of them, and fasting is free. Better yet is to do both and increase the benefits even further. The ultimate problem of aging that leads to death is senescence of the immune system. Regenerating the thymus through fasting is one part of this, but on longer fasts it also directly gets rid of your white blood cells and replaces them with brand new and healthy ones. A single 72-hour fast can regenerate 1/3 of your white blood cells, and this is something that's going to have a dramatic effect on your immune system, especially if you do it repeatedly. As we age, it is very likely we become cancer survivors, and I know many who have passed on this way, or else gone through chemo and recovered but had many problems afterwards. Regenerating the immune system removes the damage done by chemotherapy that makes the immune system ineffective for years afterwards or even permanently. And the oncologist Dr. Walter Longo has shown a single 72-hour fast is enough to fix this. And that's very important because without it, you're wide open to things like cancer and brand new autoimmune diseases. It also helps when it's done before chemotherapy, which helps the patient tolerate several times the chemo dosage, 3 to 5 times as much. This is critically important for survival because people often quit chemotherapy, especially when they're very ill or the dose is very high. And if the dose is very high, you can actually expire from the chemotherapy itself. Fasting greatly drives down inflammation, which is a major disease driver. Lower inflammation in mice has been shown to increase lifespan through the same mechanisms that fasting stimulates. Yamanaka factors are very important for stem cell health, and fasting directly stimulates all of these factors in a way that is healthy for every cell and which preserves the replication ability of stem cells without increasing the chance of cancer. Speaking of stem cells, one of the most important benefits of fasting is to release stem cells after 72 plus hours of fasting. This can help repair any organ in the body, and this includes the brain. Fasting also increases BDNF and NGF, which leads to the creation of brand new neurons and nerves in the body. That is brain-derived neurotrophin factor and nerve growth factor. Obviously, this will help a great deal in a wide variety of conditions, from Parkinson's to Huntington's to ALS and to MS. And a low-carb diet will also help with these conditions, just to a much lesser degree. Both graying of your hair and hair loss are controlled by your stem cells, and basically as they dwindle over time, that's what happens. So fasting not only helps you to be healthier and possibly live longer, but will also make you look better and younger for longer. Fasting also removes glycated proteins from the body, and glycation is what causes the damage to collagen and elastin that leads to wrinkles. Clearing out these proteins allows your body to stop more damage from occurring and possibly even reverse much of the damage, especially if you do quite a bit of fasting. Type 2 diabetes causes greatly accelerated aging of the skin in particular because it promotes AGEs, or advanced glycation end products. While some will try to scare you away from eating burnt meat, though this applies to toast as well, and anything you bake, which is basically all plant food, the main source by far is from dietary carbohydrate, which creates them in the body itself, especially fructose. Oxalate also indirectly creates AGEs in the body, and it is also mainly carb intake that produces oxalates in the body in the first place, though you can take it in through the diet if you foolishly believe that things like spinach are healthy for you when they're actually full of oxalate, which is a poison. Fasting is the quickest way to reverse type 2 diabetes and also heal the damage of glycation from these dietary and blood sugar issues caused by a bad diet, i.e. a high carb diet, especially sugar and grain. One of the big problems of aging is loose skin and tendons, and this also leads to a saggy and unnatural appearance. Thankfully, the catabolic action of fasting gets rid of the excess skin and shrinks the tendons that need to be shrunk, even as it increases the size of your internal organs. This is because different organs are more responsive to growth hormone, and different cells must divide at different rates. so you don't have to worry about losing brain cells or muscle cells while fasting, but you can get rid of excess skin cells if that's necessary. Your body knows how to heal itself, but it only does so if we activate the process.
Time and time and time again, always running out on me.
Regeneration.
In animal experiments, they often put them on a lifelong fasting schedule, and they see nothing but benefits on average. Mice usually live about 2 years, but they can live about 30% longer if they eat every other day. Mice will consume their whole daily food allotment all at once if they're allowed to do so. So this is essentially eating one meal every other day. And an interesting fact is that if they string out the eating into many small meals, the mice have much worse health outcomes. You want to also do that for yourself and keep your number of meals down or eat in a window if possible. Mice have a dramatically greater metabolism than humans, so this is more like eating one meal every 3 or 4 days, or perhaps even every week. These mice live much longer than wild mice or their captive counterparts, so this has no disadvantages for them at all. However, keep in mind that fasting does present a challenge to the system, so as we age, extreme shocks should be avoided. Thankfully, the more we're accustomed to fasting, the more we're able to do, and the easier it is. This is largely driven by our liver health, since our liver controls energy metabolism in the body, and if it's working properly, we're going to barely even feel it as we shift into ketosis, and we're not going to have all that much hunger either. That means even in our old age, we may be able to work up to doing longer fasts comfortably, but if you experience dizziness, confusion, palpitations, extreme anxiety, significant tremors, or unusual and disturbing thoughts, then simply break the fast with a healthy but easily digested low-carb meal such as a pot roast and try again later. Medications are another issue while fasting, and it's better to do without them if possible. And you can't fast while taking diabetes meds such as insulin, obviously. So you may have to work with your doctor if you have meds requiring a meal. If the meds require a meal due to gastric upset, you may still be able to fast by taking them with some butter, which is fine to take while fasting. Many people will say you can eat X calories before breaking a fast, but the truth is it is protein that controls the fast, not fat or carbs, let alone calories, whatever they're supposed to be. I don't feel that taking fat while fasting reduces my hunger, but this is something you can try to make it a little bit easier. However, it works especially well if you're in the situation where you don't want to lose weight during a fast, and that's the main reason you might want to consider it. If you're underweight, fasting generally increases appetite and lean tissue, including your internal organs such as the thymus, which is very important for your health. Fasting also increases thyroid hormone when you break the fast, so don't think just because you are frail you can't fast, or that your metabolism is going to slow down, because that's just not true. That is all the more reason to fast, especially when you realize you can take butter or cream without halting the fast, and it's not going to cause any problems. So if you're really worried about weight loss, then that's something you can do. While butter and cream do contain traces of carbs, the overwhelming amount of fat in them will blunt this insulin response to be basically nothing. Don't take carbs on their own though, especially sugar, as this will dramatically increase insulin, which tends to lead to binging, even though it does not stop autophagy. And I've made this mistake because I took some cough drops that were full of sugar, and it immediately caused me to break the fast, and I only realized later that they had sugar in it, and that's what made me so hungry. Many promote a so-called juice fast, and this can have healing benefits as well, but it causes large amounts of catabolism, so I don't really recommend this form of fasting.
I'm melting! Melting! Oh, what a world! What a world! Oh, it's not a good look
I do a 36-hour fast every week and a 72 to 96-hour fast every month. In fact, I'm doing my second 72-hour fast of the week because I'm fasting in solidarity with someone else who's doing a fast at the moment for health reasons. So I fasted one 72-hour fast already, and now I'm jumping right into another one. Just fasting 72 hours once a year would have a profound impact on your immune health over time, especially if you have taken the safe and effective treatments. But most people can keep to this schedule into their 70s and maybe even beyond. And I do know of some older people who've done some very long fasts, but I don't really recommend that. My mother has done several 72-hour fasts due to her cancer and chemotherapy issues. Amazingly, she left her horrible eye and foot issues behind after doing just one 72-hour fast. The chemotherapy has many side effects they don't tell you about beforehand, and the doctors said they would all be permanent and that it's a miracle she recovered. Of course, we all know what the miracle really was, and Dr. Longo has proven the science behind it. On the other hand, my father is in his late 80s and he's pretty weak. I wouldn't put him through that stress at this point in his life, though if he were doing a bit better, he might be able to handle it. While I have gotten him to try red light therapy, he's not too receptive to the idea of fasting anyway, though he does support my own fasting. Like any health choice, it's ultimately up to you, or to your loved ones if you're watching this on their behalf. If they have many medications, this can complicate things. Of course, the ideal is to be healthy enough to get off all meds, but that's not always feasible, especially as we get older, and with the medical industry today and the control they exert over our loved ones, and the amount of meds prescribed by doctors seems to go up every single year.
They become your slaves.
Yes, but it's not about slavery. It's about helping kids concentrate.
If all else fails, you should be able to do a fasting mimicking diet. This is simply a diet with very low carbs and under 18 grams of protein per day, which you do for 5 days at a time. This provides many of the benefits of fasting, but it's suitable even for the most frail patients. However, don't expect this is easier. It actually makes you quite hungry, while fasting generally gives reduced hunger the longer you fast and the more often you do it. It's also not very good for weight loss either. You can pay for the very expensive Prolon diet, which is approved for hospital use as a medical diet for cancer patients, or at home you can just reduce the carbs and protein as specified. Fat levels don't matter. They will only lower insulin response, not increase it, and they never stop autophagy. This form of fasting is not as easy or ideal as it sounds, but may be needed if you really can't stop your pills for a few days.
Take care of it.
Fasting might make you live longer, and it might make you live quite a bit longer, but as we age, the quality of life becomes the biggest issue, and fasting definitely helps here. It also helps with the side effects of chemotherapy, which are often devastating. Fasting also won't cause frailty, and in fact it generally causes lean tissue gains, especially in the frail, and it will also increase your metabolism over time, not decrease it. It actually increases thyroid function. The obese lose their appetite because it shrinks their stomach, but for the frail, it has the opposite effect and will actually make the stomach stronger and increase hunger. Fasting leads to greatly extended lifespan and health span in animal studies, and has an amazing and seemingly endless list of benefits. However, it is a stress on the body and it's not easy, so the older you are, the more cautious you should be about it, and the longer it may take to grow accustomed to it. It can also be difficult to work around medication needs and so on. especially diabetic medications. But if you can persevere and get through it, you will feel and see the benefits. We have the power to improve our health and vitality at virtually any age. If only we could do the same for modern society.
I want to learn about you, about your civilization. Do you have books?
Yes, they do tell me all about you.